Hello everyone, welcome back, Movie Insight Recaps. In this video I'm going to recaps 2012 film Wrath of the Titans. Let's start the storyline. Watch out and take care. In old times, the world was managed by divine beings and beasts. However, it was the half-god Perseus who crushed the beast known as Kraken and saved the world. His dad Zeus offered him to run close by as a prize. Yet Perseus turned him down since he liked to live as a human. Eventually Perseus' wife died, but this didn't make him change his mind. He still lives as a simple fisherman and takes good care of his son Helios. One evening, Zeus visits Perseus to bring some bad news. The gods are losing their powers because humanity doesn't pray anymore. This means they can't keep the demons inside the gates of Tartarus anymore, and soon Cronus, the colossal titan and father of all gods, may escape and bring calamity to the world. Zeus wants Perseus to help them with this, but Perseus refuses because his priority is his son and he doesn't think he has enough power to make a difference anyway. After Zeus leaves, Perseus goes to bed and begins having nightmares about Cronus attacking his village and almost killing his son. Meanwhile, Zeus meets with his brother Poseidon and his son Ares, who isn't happy to hear Perseus isn't coming, considering him irresponsible. They travel to Tartarus to repair the walls, and there they come across Hades, who still hates his brothers Zeus and Poseidon for banishing him into the underworld. Because of this, Hades decides to betray his family and attacks by releasing fireballs and monsters. A fierce battle begins, but since the gods are weak, they can't fight at full power and Poseidon is heavily struck. Zeus is involved by his kin's hardship and Ares faces the challenge to take out Zeus to join rabbits, taking everything into account. Then, Ares takes Zeus' thunderbolt to end up being even more amazing. By then, a ton of daydreams moves out from the secret world to pursue individuals all over. Perseus sees one land in his village and rushes back to retrieve his sword to protect his home. The villagers gather around the crater the beast left, but soon the chimera comes back and causes everyone to run in fear. A chase begins through the village as Perseus tries his best to fight the monster and keep an eye out for his son. Whenever the chimera breathes fire, Perseus uses whatever he has at hand as a shield, and when he gets close enough he stabs any part of the beast he can reach. He ends up being knocked to the ground. But when the chimera is about to kill Helios, Perseus puts himself together and gets the chimera's attention on himself, causing it to get tangled in a bunch of chains. The monster begins running away and drags Perseus with it, and once they're outside the village, Perseus grabs the chains and tricks the creature into breathing fire, which causes the chimera to burn itself. Afterward, Perseus asks a healer to take care of his wounds and Helios to come with him into the Mount of Idols, a place where people used to worship the gods but nowadays is in ruins. They find Zeus' statue and start praying, but the one to show up is Poseidon, who barely managed to escape at the last second. He tells Perseus about the betrayal and that Zeus has been captured, so Perseus must find Poseidon's child Agenor, who is with sovereign Andromeda, and together they will search for the fallen god Hephaestus, who has the way to overcoming Cronus. Then Poseidon requests that Perseus give his child his spear before he passes on. Meanwhile, Zeus is tied up for Tartarus to assimilate his powers and use them to free Cronus. Ares uses the moment to explain he hates his father because he's always had clear favoritism for Perseus, who insulted the gods by preferring to live as a human. Cronus has promised Ares and Hades immortality if they free him, but Zeus thinks it's all a lie to get them on his side. Back in the village, Perseus finally accepts he needs to fight, so he says goodbye to Helios, who gifts his father a dagger he made himself. Then Perseus calls for his black Pegasus, who takes him high in the sky. This allows him to find Queen Andromeda's armies, who are getting ready to fight near the entrance to the underworld. The bowmen assault Perseus when they see him fly by. However, they immediately put their weapons down when they understand this is the legend that crushed the Kraken. While everybody bows to him, Perseus reunites with Andromeda and tells her beginning and end, including the reality they need to quit appealing to Ares or they'll gather his presence. Andromeda acknowledges to help and takes Perseus to see Agenor, who is in prison for being a liar and a criminal. Perseus explains the situation and Agenor turns him down, not wanting anything to do with the gods that abandoned him. However, Perseus points out this could get him freedom, so Agenor asks for a royal pardon, gold, and a boat in exchange for his help. Andromeda accepts to give it all to him for the sake of humanity. Later on Agenor's new boat, Andromeda learns that Hephaestus was the one that made Poseidon's trident, Hades' pitchfork, and Zeus' lightning bolt. If they put those three together, they can form the Spear of Triumph, the weapon the gods used to defeat Cronus the first time. Hephaestus lives on the island of Kyle, which was never found, but Agenor swears he knows how to get there. Perseus accepts to free him from his chains and hands him the trident, which Agenor immediately sticks in the boat to guide it to the island. When they make it to Kyle, they realize there are hidden traps everywhere. Andromeda's guards want to pray to Ares for protection, and Perseus has to remind them that Ares isn't on their side anymore. The gathering attempts to be cautious, however Agenor actually strolls into a wire and gets caught inside a snare. While they examine how to get him out, the snare is abruptly removed by its ropes. Furthermore, Perseus takes a stab at pursuing it just to find a tree being tossed at him. Perseus rapidly evades it and is stunned to find a Cyclops is behind this. Andromeda's group attempts to help him. However, a subsequent Cyclops appears and starts killing the fighters. Andromeda hides with her guard Corinna, who tries to pray to Ares, and Andromeda has to shut her up. A Cyclops is about to find them, but suddenly it hears a painful scream from its companion and it rushes to check on it. It turns out Perseus has managed to stab the Cyclops following him, and with the help of the soldiers, he activates one of the forest's traps to knock it out. The second Cyclops comes to attack and Perseus activates the trident to defend himself. This causes a third Cyclops to show up and stop its companions because the trident is the symbol the group was sent by the gods. Agenor is freed and the Cyclops kneel for Perseus in respect. Meanwhile, Ares takes advantage of Zeus being chained to start hitting him over and over. Ares doesn't know his own limits, so Hades has to stop him before he ruins the plan. Zeus begins aging at a great speed as the chains cover his arms in lava to absorb his power. Moments later, the group finally makes it to Hephaestus' lair. The old god doesn't sound very sound of mind, but he recognizes Perseus and informs him he can't help because he doesn't have godly power anymore since Zeus took it from him when he banished him to the human realm. Andromeda grabs Hephaestus' hand and begs for his help, which is enough to make him change his mind because Andromeda reminds Hephaestus of his wife Aphrodite. Hephaestus then reveals he was the one that designed Tartarus and included a secret passage they could use. They need to get to the heart of Tartarus, and for that they need to cross the labyrinth that surrounds it. The group leaves to reach a different building where Hephaestus has hidden the labyrinth entrance, and he gives Agenor a map of the labyrinth just in case. When they're about to make it to the door, suddenly Ares shows up. He kills Andromeda's leftover troopers and Perseus punches him for it, yet he isn't sufficiently able to cause harm. While Hephaestus opens the secret entryway, the gathering assaults Ares, yet his areas of strength for excessively effectively drives them generally away. Corinna gets kneeling down and uncovers she was the one that petitioned God for him. However, Ares much obliged her by killing her, seeing they're going to be crushed. Hephaestus keeps the entryway open with his staff, then, at that point, goes to stand up to Ares to delay. While Ares takes his time killing Hephaestus, Perseus, Andromeda, and Agenor run inside the labyrinth, and the door closes behind them. The trio begins exploring the labyrinth using the map Hephaestus left them. Perseus keeps hearing a voice calling his name and asking for his son, and Andromeda sees a vision of Corinna that runs away from her. After lots of twists and turns, Agenor decides the map is useless and that they should follow his navigator instincts he got from his dad. Reach an inner area of the labyrinth with giant moving rings that cause them to fall and get stuck between two walls. The semi-gods use their strength to get Andromeda out, and Agenor quickly follows, but Perseus falls again. In a dark corridor, Perseus finds Helios and has to remind himself he isn't real. He goes looking for his friends only to be suddenly attacked by a minotaur, who tries to stab him with its horns. A fierce fight begins, and after lots of struggle, Perseus manages to push the minotaur into a wall to get its horns stuck. Perseus then begins beating him up, and when the horns break, the minotaur tries to use Helios' voice to ask for mercy, but Perseus kills it anyway. Since the minotaur was the protector of the labyrinth, now that it's dead, a clear path opens for Perseus. He reunites with his friends and together they finally enter the heart of Tartarus. Meanwhile, Zeus apologizes to Hades for banishing him into the underworld and confesses he forgives Hades for capturing him now. Hades starts changing his mind since he's always wanted the approval of his family, but at that moment Ares shows up and attacks him to stop him from freeing Zeus. After exchanging a few hits, Hades grabs Ares and makes them fall into the abyss while Cronus finishes absorbing Zeus' power and finally starts waking up. The threesome shows up and Perseus utilizes Poseidon's pike to free Zeus while Ares advances back up, prepared to continue to battle. Andromeda and Agenor attempt to stop him without much of any result. Yet unexpectedly Ares falls when Abaddon assaults him from behind with his pitchfork. The threesome takes off with Zeus as Ares takes the pitchfork from Gehenna and tosses it at Zeus, betraying him. Zeus uses this as an opportunity and puts together the pitchfork and the trident to make the group teleport out of Tartarus. Furious, Ares stabs Hades. Then he checks the area to discover Perseus dropped Helios' gift. Minutes later, the group appears at Andromeda's camp, but Zeus doesn't have much time left. He tells Perseus that Ares has his lightning bolt, so they need to steal it and make the spear, which only Perseus can wield. The group makes a plan. Agenor, Andromeda, and her army will hold Cronus back while Perseus gets the bolt. He prays to Ares and asks him to meet him at the temple, which he reaches by flying on his Pegasus. The entrance to the underworld explodes and fireballs begin falling all over the area. bringing all kinds of monsters with them. The humans fight with all the weapons and strategies they can muster, but they won't be able to hold on for much longer. Suddenly, Hades shows up at the battlefield to visit Zeus, holding his hand as he accepts to forgive him and shares his last bit of power. This makes Zeus look young again and heals his wounds. Then both gods join the fight, bringing down monsters as if they were flies. Meanwhile, Perseus arrives at the temple and discovers Ares has brought Helios because he wants him to watch his father be taken away like Ares had to watch his own. A fierce fight begins between the brothers, but it's easy for Ares to overpower a semi-god. When Ares is about to kill Perseus, Helios comes forward with his dad's sword, which distracts Ares. Perseus utilizes the opportunity to hop on his sibling from behind and take the lightning bolt, which he then uses to kill Ares at long last. Since he has the 3 weapons, Perseus assembles them to make the Lance of Triumph. In the meantime, Cronus gets done with arousing and shows up on the front line, so Abaddon and Zeus focus on going after him. Their power is weak and can't do much. Thus Cronus ignores them to start destroying the area instead, shooting lava all over the place. Perseus arrives on his Pegasus, but he can't come closer to strike because of all the raining lava. Hades and Zeus put their powers together to land a good hit on Cronus and give the chance Perseus to fly closer. This enraged Cronus and causes him to hit the land to send a powerful wave toward the gods. Zeus pushes Hades out of the way and puts up a force field, but he isn't strong enough and gets hit back. This distraction is enough for Perseus to dodge Cronus' last lava wave and flies directly into his mouth to stick the spear directly inside his body. The plan works and Cronus explodes until nothing but ash is left behind. The army celebrates and Andromeda is glad to see Perseus flying back alive. Subsequently, Perseus reunites with Zeus, who makes reference to the time of divine beings is finished and says thanks to Perseus for his assistance. Since Gehenna can't get him any additional time, Zeus kicks the bucket in his child's arms. Then Abaddon declares he's frail currently, so he'll need to begin another life. Moments later, everyone at camp begins taking care of their wounds. Agenor bonds with Helios because he wants to be a good uncle, and Perseus approaches Andromeda to kiss her. When father and son get a moment alone, Helios admits that after seeing war, being a fisherman doesn't seem so bad. However, Perseus wants him to be ready for the future and decides to pass on his legendary sword. Thanks for watching video.